Hello, so okay, we're all set up now. So now on to the next stage, which is the final stage of the metronome technique, the highest level of precision for this foundation practice of playing precisely in the pocket with the metronome. So, so we've already had the idea of the echo. So you play that you're the echo, or the metronome is the echo. And this idea is taking just a little bit further, and instead of thinking of echo is like what you get in a big space. And but if you're in a smaller space, you no longer call it an echo, and what you have is reverb. And we probably don't even think of reverb as being like an echo. You might think it is just part of the sound, it's for like a sound quality or something like that. And you don't, unless you actually work with reverb as a musician, maybe mixing tracks and adding reverb onto them, then you probably don't think of it that way. But it is in fact, reverb is like an echo. It's in fact, the reverb is louder than echo. So the echo is in a loud space. We think of the echo as being quite loud. That's because of our logarithmic hearing. We're very sensitive to quiet sounds. And so we think of an echo as being quite loud, even in a large space. In a small space like this, it is of course even louder because the sound has less distance to travel and come back, less dispersing going on. So, and then you might also think, all right, but then it's practically instantaneous. It's not that either. So we're used to sound being very fast. Think of supersonic jets or even speed of running. So sound can travel 100 meters in a third of a second. That sounds pretty fast compared with the way human beings run. But when you think in terms of musical sounds, when musicians think, which is in terms of milliseconds, then sound takes 3 whole milliseconds to travel a meter. So in that sense, it's quite slow, really. And by the time it's got to that wall and got back to me, then more than 10 milliseconds will have passed by. By the time it gets to that wall and back again, it may be more than 20, maybe getting on for 30 whole milliseconds have passed before it gets back to me. So the reverb is quite significantly delayed. And we must kind of filter it out, because if you heard every sound echoed back to you at that sort of a delay, it would be terribly confusing. And so if you can listen to it in very analytical fashion, then the reverb is very much like these echoes that you get in a big room, only it's louder and more immediate. So within 10 milliseconds, my sound is coming back from that wall, and every word I say is being sent back like an echo from that wall. And I'm hearing other bits of the sound, like later echoes, coming from further away in the room in different distances. And then between, it's like this sort of massive reverb going back and forth. It's like when you're in the big room and you get the echo and then it goes back and forth and it just merges into kind of confusion. Well, the same thing happens with reverb, only much, much more quickly. So all that is going on. So it's very complex and it's very loud, as human hearing goes. And so we're used to filtering it out pretty much, and otherwise it'd be pretty hard to live with it. And that means that when you're playing really precisely in the pocket with the metronome, you mightn't be as close as you thought, because if you're within the reverb distance of the metronome, that may well sound, because of our familiarity with reverb, as if you were in the pocket. And so that's one aspect of it. And we also see how thinking in terms of reverb can help us to get really precisely into the playing precisely in time with the metronome. So that's the application of reverb. And before doing that, I just want to show you a little bit about reverb, a little bit more about what it sounds like. And so we'll do a crude simulation of reverb in bounce, because that makes it really clear how it works. So there's an option in bounce metronome, and I've added this in order to help really specifically for this, so that you can try out echoes and reverb to hear what they sound like. And so if I switch on, I've got this called Add Echo Parts in the tempo drop down, if you wonder where it is when you get bounce metronome. So if I switch on an echo part, and there I've got an extra part added in, and that's the echo. And now if I set it clicking away, now this is set at, that's a double tap, right? And that is the echo distance. So that's set it to 100 milliseconds. That's like a very large room reverb. It's really becoming more like an echo. So now I can adjust the volume of that echo so it sounds more like an echo and not a double tap. So, and just would like to show you something in bounce metronome here. So if you've got bounce metronome, just a few seconds for the users who've got bounce metronome. Just want to point something out, just in case you don't find it straight away. And that's when you see the numbers in bounce metronome, you may be used to that in music software you have these little dials that go round and round, and because it's awkward to move the mouse round and round in circles, there's this convention that if you click on the dial and you drag up and down, then the dial turns round, even though you're moving your mouse in a straight line. And so that's a neat feature, but it's a little bit awkward when you actually want to come to type in an exact figure. So you drag it and it goes to 102 and you actually want it to be 101. And you really need a separate field where you can type in the number, which then makes it a very complicated user interface. So if you have lots of controls, that gets rather complicated, and they tend to leave out the numbers, which makes it a bit difficult to hit the exact number, the exact point you're trying to hit. So in bounce metronome, I've gone the other way, and instead of leaving out the numbers, I've left out the dial. So instead, all the numbers in bounce metronome you can adjust in this same way. But the way you do it, there's no dial at all. You just click on the number, and if you drag with the mouse, the number will get highlighted. I don't know if you'll read the number, but you might see it's got highlighted. And then as I drag it down, the number is changing actually. It's now at 105, and it's going down. If I release, click on the number, and drag it down again, it will keep going down. If I hold the shift key down, it will go down more rapidly. So we can do that, and then we can try listening to make it sound like an echo. So make it sound like an echo. Right? Even a little bit quiet. So the quality of sound is changing slightly because it's moving back and forth with stereo power. That's a little bit too quiet. Right. Yes, maybe a typical echo. Make it really large, make it like 200 so you can really get an echo. Okay? That'll be about the kind of volume you would expect an echo to be. Relative volume to the main one. Now, if I set that to instead to a kind of reverb distance, so I set to 50 milliseconds, which is I'll set it to 50 milliseconds, which is the reverb distance for quite a large room. I've just done that, so I'll just do that just now. Type a 5 in there, so 50 milliseconds. Now if we listen to it, and you notice how it's still just the same echo as before, but it sounds almost like it's just a single click. If you weren't listening with a fair amount of attention to it, you might wonder if it was just a single click with a bit of reverb. And now if you set that to, but if you have any doubt about it, which I'm sure you don't, if you have any doubt, then I go there, I silence the main part, and you can still hear the echo, right? But it might sound like it's just reverb. And if I set that to, that's a larger reverb, very easily noticeable. If I set it to the like 20 milliseconds, it's even more like reverb. Very simple, crude thing. All I've done is play the same sound again quieter, but that is similar enough to reverb, so the ear tends to filter it out and just treat it as reverb. So that is when you're getting close, playing closely in the pocket with the metronome, it may sound as if you're in the pocket when you are at the reverb distance away. So that's something that so I've put this as part of Bounce Metronome. You can practice with it. You can try different volumes for the echo part. If I set it back to the maximum volume, and you can now hear it, this is the double click at a fairly medium-sized room reverb. It's 20 milliseconds at the moment. So and you hear it's like a kind of double tap. And so that's the reverb distance away. That's a medium-sized room, very small room reverb. You know, a small room like just that distance away is more like 10 milliseconds. And if I can find that, then it's like a small room reverb. It's almost coincident, but it's still a distinct double tap. I think most musicians would hear that as double tap still. So that was the only reason for bringing up the echo part. I will now remove it, and we can go back to Bounce Metronome, and now I'll play the. We can now apply what we've just been learning. So this is how you get really close to the metronome in a relaxed fashion, because again, just like an echo, reverb, it's a very relaxed feeling to reverb. And the point is that you are going to be the reverb for the metronome and make the metronome the reverb for you. That gives you your two sides of the metronome click. And because you're thinking in terms of reverb, again, you'll probably find you can instantly hear which side of the click you are without having to have that extra thought involved, which brings in effort, which brings in tension, which and then makes it all more difficult. So you just set the metronome ticking away, and you play at this reverb distance away, and you try and play either before or after, and just, you know, the relaxation is the key. So the relaxation is more important than getting this right. But like there, okay. So I'm playing two times. I didn't mean to hit the click there. No, to the reverb thing. There we are. No, that's too close, I think. There. There we are. Yeah, that's like a large room reverb. And if I go closer, that's like a small room reverb. So that's the small and large room reverb on that side. And then on the other side, I can place with the metronome as the reverb. That's like a, and then a larger room reverb, a small room reverb, very small room reverb. And then once you've got the idea of the two sides, then you can then try hitting in the middle, and just the same thing. You might find you can just exactly, there we are. And I'm doing too well. There we are. And the more relaxed you are, the easier it will be to do this. And you may be able to keep it up for quite a long time. Now, I should gradually drift away. I gradually drifted away there, right? Then, if you've done enough practicing of the verb to either side, then you get pulled back again. You don't even need to think about which side you are. Because you're the reverb, you get pulled back again. So it's a natural thing, and this is the thing that turns it into a stable equilibrium. So it's like a pebble at the bottom that you roll down, you go back and forth, and you settle in the bottom. So, and you're listening to the merged sound. So you and the metronome are sounding together to make a single instrument, and you've got the before and after echo and more precision reverb, and then hitting in the middle, and that's when you are playing precisely in the pocket with the metronome. And so then once you've got that, then this is something that you can just you can then just play in a relaxed way, just tapping with the metronome, and it just becomes very relaxing and easy, and there's no effort involved in it. And it's, as I say, the relaxation is more important. If you drift back and forth a bit, that's not so important. But listening out for the vanishing is going to, and for the merging, and for the reverb. And then that way you gradually get more and more precise, and it just happens in an easy, natural fashion. And I'm sure many of you will go way beyond whatever I'm able to do in this respect. So that's the kind of foundation exercise, and you can keep coming back to it, because as you continue to work with the metronome, then you're, in this way, the way you listen to time becomes more precise. You can hear more precisely whether that you're not quite hitting a click when perhaps before it counted as vanishing to your ears, and or merge. So this is a thing that by working with it, then you're going to gradually, over time, you become more and more precise, at the same time relaxed all the time as well. And so that's it. That was the foundation technique that I wanted to explain about how you bury the click. And at the same time, be sure to keep up all the other stuff, so the going back and forth in the middle, and the drifting, so you do this gradual drifting from one click to another. So you start in the pocket. I'm not quite in the pocket yet. Then we're in the pocket, and now I start drifting. I go, maybe let's go the other way, further, slow and slow. So not doing very steady. Yeah, that's better. And you gradually push it from the other side. And then you hit the beat from the other side. So that gradual drifting through the beat. That's a very nice, easy, relaxing exercise to do. And also the drifting back and forth in the middle. And then also, once you hit the playing in the pocket, you don't stop playing before and after. So continue to also do the echo thing as well. Because you want to have the feeling that you can play anywhere in any beat that you want. Anytime you can play anywhere in the beat, not just in the pocket. And that's very important as well. So the drifting around in the middle, I think, is good to do, and you'll find, of course, loads of other exercises in the books and thoughts and ideas about this. So I'm just introducing you to some of the basics. So that's I think that's the basic technique. So now I'm now going to talk about different musical instruments, even if you're a drummer. Now, playing on a drum pad is a whole different ball game from playing with a stone, with the metronome. So I'm going to talk about that, and playing with different musical instruments, and the mind level of metronome practice, and various other, and also dealing with some of the things that can go wrong and make sure they don't right away at the beginning. So that's what the rest of this will be about. And as before, it's the Robert Inventor channel, and there's the click to the next video. It's part of the playlist, and also be the next video button link. I'll add that to the info to this video.